In this video, I want to talk about Igor Stravinsky. Igor Stravinsky's dates are 1882 to 1971, who he studied with the Russian composer Rimsky-Korsakov, and you could hear a lot of influence of Rimsky-Korsakov's orchestration techniques in Stravinsky's works as well. Stravinsky himself was a legendary Russian composer even during his own lifetime. He was very popular in his day, where we heard about Mozart, who had some struggles, and other composers who struggled during their lifetime but then actually became more famous afterwards. But Stravinsky was well known even during his day. Took private lessons with Rimsky-Korsakov while he was studying law, and he is probably most noted for his ballets. He wrote three ballets, one, The Firebird, in 1910, Petrushka in 1911. Probably his most famous work is in 1913 was The Rite of Spring. Although he's a Russian by birth, he became a French citizen in 1934 and then eventually emigrated to America and became an American citizen in 1945, which kind of speaks of his always changing cosmopolitan lifestyle. As far as the Rite of Spring is concerned, why it's very famous, I mean, one, it premiered in Paris in 1913, and it's probably most famous because of what the events that took place during its premiere, in that an actual riot broke out where it was quite violent, with audience members fighting with one another. Half were rioting and protesting. It's hard to tell as far as whether they were protesting the poor quality of the music, or at least through their perception, or through the choreography of the Nijinsky's dancers. Whether it's debatable which one was the cause of the riot there, but half of the audience members were also telling those members to quiet down and shut up. So it's an interesting story, to say the least there. Probably what most shocked and outraged most of the audience members who protested during the premiere was its use of primitivism. Primitivism is a deliberate evocation of primitive power through insistent rhythms and percussive sounds. And also incorporates other cultures, art, and music into his own music as well. Some of this primitivism, how is it brought out in the music? One is through the use of harsh dissonances, maybe not necessarily atonal, but just a deliberate use of chords against one another that will cause these harsh dissonances, use of percussiveness and pounding rhythms. As far as a piece, when you expect with a title like The Rite of Spring, it would be like Vivaldi's Spring Concerto, and it does start off kind of sweetly, but with spring can come very violent changes in climate and mood and storms, and I think this is what this Rite of Spring entails. But there's also there's some underlying metaphors in this ballet of spring being compared to a boy becoming a man or a girl becoming a woman, which can be a tumultuous time in someone's life as well. The introduction represents this awakening of nature, and you'll hear this solo bassoon playing in the opening that represents this awakening of nature. It's interesting, the bassoon being used as a solo instrument, and it's also played in a high register, which gives it a kind of straining kind of feel. So it struggling to awake this nature figure is. And the introduction gives away to what I call this tick-tock figure, dun 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 dun, where the violins play this pizzicato four-note ostinato over and over again, which draws listeners' ears into it. And then the strings pound out this dissonant chord with unexpected and irregular accents, and you could really hear some of Rimsky-Korsakov's influence in the orchestration. At one point, there's this, where we talked about the strings pounding out these harsh dissonances, and part of that has to deal with the irregular rhythm of the accents here. If you think of 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and I put all these little accents here on this little slide here to show you kind of how he put this irregular rhythm that shows the primitivism of the work that he put together. So if you clapped and counted 1 and 2 and 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 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and you'll hear that rhythmic figure used with the orchestra as a whole to bring about this kind of wild frenzy of activity on stage. I was able to find a video on YouTube on this recreation of the actual choreography of Nijinsky, who choreographed the Stravinsky's Rite of Spring here, and you get a sense of some of that primitivism, both in the music and also in the choreography as well here. Here's just a little sample of it. You could get this video also on my YouTube channel under the 20th Century Music, and also I'll put up an annotated hyperlink on this video so that you could just click right onto it to get to it here as well. But here's just a little sampling of those accented irregular rhythms that Stravinsky uses and the harsh dissonances. So I hope you didn't riot from that, or break any chairs or anything like that, or feel the urge to punch somebody from that there. But that's just a little sample of it. But I do implore you to watch the whole thing here on my YouTube channel.